How do self-determination movements challenge state sovereignty? Imagine a country where a specific group feels they are not being heard or represented. Now picture them pushing for independence or greater autonomy. This scenario is at the heart of how self-determination movements challenge the idea of sovereignty. These movements are about groups claiming the right to decide their own political future. They argue that people should have a say in their governance, especially if they face oppression or neglect from the central government. When a group seeks independence or autonomy, it questions whether the state truly represents everyone within its borders. It also questions whether the state's claim to absolute control is justified. These claims often come from communities with distinct languages, cultures, or histories that differ from the majority population. They believe their identity and rights are being ignored or suppressed. This creates a dilemma because states see territorial integrity as vital for their survival. They want to keep their borders intact and maintain control. When a part of the population pushes for independence, it threatens this territorial unity. The state might see it as a threat to its legitimacy and stability. Self-determination movements also challenge the moral authority of the state. If a government is oppressive or fails to protect minority rights, can it still claim to have the right to govern? Many argue that if a state violates basic human rights, its claim to sovereignty becomes questionable. These movements can lead to practical instability. When one group secedes or gains autonomy, others might follow. This domino effect can cause fragmentation, making countries fragile and prone to conflict. Governments often fear that satisfying one group's demands could inspire others to seek independence, risking the breakup of the entire nation. The international legal system adds to this challenge. Laws about self-determination are often vague or inconsistent. Some countries support the right to self-determination, but only within certain limits. Others oppose unilateral moves, viewing them as illegal secession. This legal gray area makes resolving conflicts complicated. When movements hold referendums without government approval, they often face rejection from the state. This leads to standoffs, protests, or even violence. Examples like South Sudan, East Timor, and Kosovo show how these claims can lead to new states, but also to ongoing disputes. From an ethical view, the core question is what makes a government legitimate. If a government oppresses its people or denies their rights, does it still have the moral right to rule? Many believe that sovereignty should be based on the consent of the governed, not just on historical borders or power. Self-determination movements challenge the traditional idea that states have the ultimate authority over their territory. They push for a system where legitimacy depends on whether the people agree to be governed. This shift raises questions about how to balance the rights of groups with the need for stability and peace. Some solutions include power-sharing arrangements, regional autonomy, or special protections for minority groups. These aim to give groups a voice without breaking up the country. But history shows that partial solutions often lead to more demands for independence later. The core issue remains: should sovereignty be rooted in the state's control or in the people's right to choose their future? Self-determination movements reminded us that legitimacy should come from the consent of the people, challenging the old idea that sovereignty is solely about territorial control.